Well, everybody knows that riding in races comes with its attendant perils, but very few of you, I think, will have appreciated or realised the journey that my next guest has been on through the last couple of years. A very, very promising rider, first with Dan Skelton and then with John Joe O'Neill. He has had an enforced absence owing to a very unfortunate and critical series of incidents that have left him now trying to fight his way back, and I'm really pleased to say that Will Marshall joins me in the studio today. Will, thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you very much for having me, Nick.
Not at all, and I should say, by way of background, you contacted me earlier in the week and said, I'd love to come and talk a little bit about what I've been through and just the road through the last year or two. Just tell me where you were at. You'd started off really well, hadn't you, with Dan Skelton?
Yeah, Dan and Harry, amazing people. They got me going nicely, and then unfortunately, I take it as a positive. I had to leave Dan. Harry fighting for the championship and things, and I then was very lucky and went to John Joe's and loved every second of it. And then unfortunately, we got a nasty injury. And
this was it. So it all started this process with a fall on the racecourse. That was. It looked bad, but it didn't look awful at the time. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I had not too bad of a fall, really. The concussion symptoms persisted. Then they sort of dropped out, but I constantly had a migraine that I couldn't get to shift. And I tried every trick in the book and carried on. And then sort of 3 months later, then I had a heavy fall school in John Joe's on the all-weather, and obviously on the grass you roll, and just took the brunt of the impact. And then week by week then, it got progressively worse and sort of moved to the back of my head, and almost to the point where it was like a football being blown up in the back of my head. And sort of eight weeks after that fall, I had to speak to Dave Roberts, my agent at the time, and sort of say, look, we're going to have to put the foot on the gas. There's something not quite right. I believe it's a concussion, but it's persisted for a long time. We need to sort of try and look into it. And at that point I sort of spoke to John Joe and Dave, and we sort of stopped race riding. I tried to carry on riding out, and it wasn't really the best thing to do. Sort of dizzy and all over the place, really.
So what did you do?
I sort of stopped riding out and tried to carry on day to day with helping, the boys in the yard and things. And then I had to then sort of stop because it was dizzy and feeling sick and pressure behind my eyes and sort of feeling really not well. And then I sort of guided by Jerry. Spent a lot of time in
Dr. Jerry Hill,
yeah,
who's the BHA doctor.
Yeah, brilliant. Worked alongside him for a good couple of months, and also Emma Edwards, vestibular physio, and it was persisting, and they believed it was a concussion, but sort of not getting the answers and feeling.
You had a brain scan by this point?
Yeah, I had brain scans.
And it didn't show anything?
No, all clear. And that was sort of the annoying thing. I thought, right, what's actually wrong, but I couldn't shake them off.
So every normal test for a head injury, any damage, there was no damage in your brain, there was nothing that anyone could see, there was no bleed, there was no fracture to your neck? No,
the concussion tests, obviously, all jockeys do, it was slower than normal. Then I actually went to see a concussion doctor in London under Richard Sylvester, who the rugby union English team go to, and he said, look, I believe it could be a concussion, Will, but I think it's something called a CSF leak.
A CSF leak?
Yeah, so what that is a tear in the membrane on your spine, and it's leaking spinal fluid out. So I had the same with this, loads of different type of scans, CT scans, MRI, no sign of a leak. So I then actually went to see a top neurologist who's very big in this sort of department, and he said, look, from your symptoms, Will, we believe you've got a leak. The concussion, it's not that now, there must be something else. So I had all different types of things. When I laid down, within 20 minutes, this pressure will drop out with no pillow. So that's sort of where I spend a lot of my time at the moment.
How much of what percentage of your life at the moment is spent flat on your back?
A lot, to be honest. Yeah, it is walking, talking, any head movement, anything that increases the heart rate will get this pressure to the point where it's virtually impossible to see.
So I should just stress, if anyone's concerned, we came in beforehand, and I was worried about the lights and the studio, but you said you feel comfortable for 10 or 15 minutes.
Yeah, of course. No, it's my pleasure to talk about it. It's not nice, it's horrible, but I've sort of had it for 18 months now, so I guess it's sort of become the norm for me. I've had 5 surgeries on it already. I nearly had to go over to America to actually find the leak to start with. That's the biggest task for the team I'm working with, is to find them, because they can actually be as small as a pinhead on your spine. Mine's a little bit different to a CSF leak. Mine's a CSF venous fistula, so it's a tear in the membrane, sort of ruptured the nerve sleeve. It's an abnormal connection between nerve root and blood vessel. So anything I do, head movement, walking, talking, speaking, and my heart rate increases, the fluid then becomes coming out faster, and it causes the symptoms to be even worse. So I had.
But am I right in saying they've locked off your brain, so this can't get to you? You can't get to your brain anymore.
Yeah, they can be anywhere in your spinal column and around your brain. Luckily for me, touch wood, they believe I don't have one in my brain. They're all in my spinal column. I had a big operation in the Wellington Hospital a couple of months back, which I thought was a final hurdle at the level of S1. They wrapped the nerve 360 degrees all the way around, and unfortunately I thought I'd hit the jackpot, and so did the surgeons. When the surgeon got in, he actually had to take half the vertebrae out to access the canal of the spine and the nerves, and he said we've hit the jackpot. It was a big fistula he found, and then he sort of said, right, 2 months, 3 months, we can start up in the game again, hopefully we can get you back out there. And then I went back then for the MRI scan. The surgery was fantastic, he was happy. He said from a positive renogram I had earlier, which is basically where they inject contrast into your spinal column, was actually going into my kidneys very fast within the space of 30 seconds. In normal people that would take a couple of hours. So the neurologist was sort of very upset at the time. He said, look, don't panic, well, there's got to be another one, we need to find it. So I'm currently waiting for more operations to try and locate it.
It's extraordinary how able you are to talk about your experiences and have that level of detachment. It must have been the most horrific time for you. How have you managed to get to this point?
I guess for me, Nick, unless a doctor says, look, well, we can't fix it, I'll never give up. It's very challenging, as much as I've ever been challenged in my life, I guess. Obviously, Dr. Jerry Hill's amazing. He's by my side in every aspect, I guess, led by the professionals, because it's also an injury he's never witnessed himself. But no, it is a challenge, but I guess, there's far worse people out there than me. I can walk and talk, so that's a positive.
You still have an ambition to get back and ride racehorses, don't you?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I it's my passion. It's something I've always wanted to do, and I'm dying to get back out there, in all honesty. The hardest thing for me with it is I actually look fine on the eye. My arm's not in a sling, my leg's not in a pot, so I guess people, sort of questioning it a bit, but actually, day by day, life is very, very tough at the minute. I'd like to think I'm a strong type of lad, but it's definitely the most I've ever been challenged, ever really, in life.
You're smiling a lot, but I'm guessing that's masking an awful lot of turmoil. How are you managing to hold yourself together?
Well, I guess really, Nick, the positive is for me, they're not giving up, the surgeons. There's always another hurdle to cross, which I guess if the doctor said, look, well, we can't go any further with this, then there's a worry. I might have to look into something else. But I guess the positive is we can keep going forward, hopefully, and hopefully we can find this next leak. The next operations I'm having, they actually stop your breathing to try and locate it, and they're classed as a gold standard. They're led by a very, very top guy in America, who is actually, they're classed the world's best for finding these things and fixing them, and the team I'm dealing with in London are led by him. So we've got, I guess, the best team we can possibly ever get on it. So start on the lower spine, one day on the left, one day on the right. 6 weeks later, they move to the middle. 6 weeks after that, they move to the top. I'm hoping, please God, we can find it in the first hit, and then we can have the surgery to fix it. Worst case scenario, the doctors have said 7 more operations will, and I guess I set my mind to that, and then anything else is a bonus.
So you just take it step by step, very methodical,
yeah.
That kind of really clinical approach to it.
Yeah, I guess, with me, Nick, it's very depressing really, because I want to be out there, and I live for it, but I can't physically go out there yet, because, it's virtually impossible to ride like this. But yeah, I guess trying to keep winning each round, my family, my girlfriend, it's tough. Great friends around me, you know, trying to just keep pushing, I guess. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure that the sport is supporting you in every way that it can, and hopefully today, Cornelius Rafe, more people will know about Will's journey and will be.
What can I say to just say like that? It could be another 7 operations. You know, applause for taking it so much in your stride, because it must be extraordinarily frustrating. And you seem to be a world expert on some of these terms as well now. That you know, 3 or 4 years ago you wouldn't have imagined whatever gram it was.
No, yeah, you know, obviously, I actually spoke to Nick Skelton the other day on the phone, and he said, I said, look, I've been out a long time, Nick, and he said, look, Will, obviously, you know, he had the broken neck and things. He said, just let the doctors do the work, you know, that's all you can do. He said, you've got 2 options. He said, you can have it, you know, be not in the game anymore, you know, and almost, you know, do something you regret, or just keep pushing. The first one's not the option, you know, so we've got to just hang in there. And I guess working with Dan and Harry and also Nick created that mindset. You know, they're amazing people. So, no, I'm very, very lucky. I guess I can still walk and talk. Unfortunately for Josh, you know, obviously his injury was a lot worse than mine, and he's come out the other end, so please God we can come out the other end soon.
And he's in the middle of charging through the London Marathon.
Yeah, no, and he's given me some great words of advice also along the way. So, no, it's, yeah, we keep pushing.
Great to hear what an inspiration Josh's story is to you, and I'm sure yours is going to become at some point to other people as well.
Oh, no, look, you know, more so for me, it was, you know, just to maybe raise awareness. A lot of them lads out there, you know, like, they'll do anything they can to ride in them races, and sometimes it's probably not the right thing to do with the things that are going on, injuries and things, but it was more so just to try and raise a bit of awareness that I guess on the eye looking in it felt very much like a concussion, but you know, it was quite a serious injury in the end, I guess, but hopefully we can be back out there soon.
I have every confidence in you, and your mindset is incredible, and what you've accomplished already is extraordinary. Will, thanks so much for coming in and sharing your story, and goes without saying, all the very best, keeping our fingers firmly crossed for you.
Thank you very much for having me, Nick. My pleasure.
Will Marshall. All our fingers crossed for Will.
Watch live racing now on racingtv.com.